Lovely. Hey, it's my regular group at this point. Got Jesus and Geek Workshop. Thanks for showing up, folks. Obviously, I'm still setting up slightly, as it always takes me a moment. I will be with you in just a moment. Hello, Charles. Welcome.
Do we need this?
Yeah. I'll need this. Let's see. Hello, Tavia. All right, so today's prompt is shy, what popped into my head? A certain character from comics, not necessarily super popular character, but the first one I thought of for shy, Cloak and Dagger. Hold on, I'm having an issue with my Wi-Fi. It'll only take but a moment to reset. Hopefully you're all still there. And I'll see what you have to say in just a moment. I'm in a hotel still, so, you know, it takes me a minute to get set up. All right, so I was saying that I was thinking of a particular character that I think of with shy, and that is Cloak from Cloak and Dagger. No. So we'll see what I can do with that. Did you watch the Nintendo World Championships? I did not, Charles. Sorry, did not know about that. Was it good? What games were played? Is that like Mario Kart and stuff? Just gonna try to do a little bit of an outline to give myself somewhere to go, and then I'll get to inking as quickly as possible. Just a little bit buzzed. Been hanging out with some friends and had some nice gin tonight. So that was fun. You didn't happen to see some... Wait, you didn't happen to have some Qui-Gon gin? Yeah. I'm sure that George Lucas is quite angry that he didn't think of that one. Let me reset a little bit here. Trying to figure out my angles, my layout, with the size that I have. No, the gin I had was a local gin. It was Brooklyn Distillery. It might have even been literally called Brooklyn Gin. I need to think about that. It was good. It was quite good. That's all that matters. Hope everybody out there is doing well. It's a tough world, so if we've got each other and we can grab a few minutes of peace, we should be grateful for that. Ooh, you can tell that I've had a little to drink when I get sappy like that, huh? I've decided I'm gonna add dagger to this drawing. Hopefully you can sort of see how that's going. Not the best setup, I know. I know there's some distance here, and I know that it's not the sharpest. I wish I could give you guys a better presentation, but I'm working with what I got. Yeah, Geek Workshop. Apparently I can still draw a straight line. Thank you. Okay. Hello, Gerzagors. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly. And I'm just doing the best I can. Just doing the best I can. Let's throw down some outlines on some of this stuff and see what happens. But I'm going to do something a little differently. Going to try to use some negative space. We'll see how that goes. It's very close. Well, I'm trying. I'm going to use a really tiny technical pen to try to flesh in. You know what? No, I'm too nervous. I gotta use a little bit of pencil. I was about to just go for it, but I just can't bring myself to do it. What do we got here? We got it's about the eye line, nose, mouth. Trying to keep Tyrone's face somewhere between heroic and not too old, because these kids are just teenagers. Cloak and Dagger. Alright, we'll see what happens. In English, it's like Gershagash. Gershagash. Probably did worse with that attempt. And where do you hail from, Gershagorsh? Is that like somewhere like Poland, Germany, Austria? I'm just sort of guessing somewhere around there. The ish got more B song in it. Okay. Geek Workshop says that the Inktober today is hard. Yeah, well, certainly. Shy. That doesn't necessarily instantly connotate something. That's not even an emotion, is it? Like, what is that? That's just a feeling. So, little tricky. But I've always felt that Cloak is a very shy character, and that sort of explains why his powers are the way they are. He hides in darkness in a way. Kind of like somebody like Invisible Woman. Middle of Poland near Lodz. Oh, I have some friends that live in Poland. They were living in the capital, but where did they just move to? Chrissy, do you remember where the Anglerts moved? Oh, they just moved, and I'm trying to remember the name of their town. Yeah, Wrocław. My friends moved to Wrocław. They're Americans, but, well, they moved, and now they live in Poland. They love it. They're very happy there. It's my friend Mark Englert, who this weekend had a lot of success releasing a Game of Thrones limited edition poster through the Bottleneck Gallery. Very talented artist Mark is. So he works from home. His wife Beata is a fashion designer, so she also works from home. So they had the luxury of deciding, we're going to go live in Poland. And they did that a little over a year ago, and they love it there. Lewis Butler says, I finally get to see the stream live. I love your videos. That's very, very kind of you to say, Lewis. And hello again, Anja. It's nice to see you again. This is lovely. As I have a swig of soda to perk myself up. So I'm going to try to work today with negative space. So this is going to be a very different type of drawing for me. I don't normally attempt something this bold, but we'll see how it goes, you know? We hope for the best. Jesus says, hey, I decided to do some research on Spider-Man because the character is interesting to me. Good. Spider-Man's one of my absolute favorites. He's very, very interesting, very well-defined character, despite having many different types of writers. I think he's great. Doesn't mean that every story he's been in has been great. Just means that it's a pretty believable, interesting character that you can do a lot with. And that's why I think his movies tend to generally be pretty good. Let's see if this Sharpie helps at all for filling in some of this black area. Oh yeah. So Cloak and Dagger are not the most prominent Marvel characters. They've been around for a long time. I would still say they're semi-obscure because they've rarely had a long-running title dedicated to themselves. They tend to pop up quite a bit in Marvel just to sort of, I think, probably retain the copyrights on the characters. And apparently they're about to get their own TV show. I think on Freeform, which used to be ABC Family. I'm pretty sure I have that right. So they may become a little more well-known by the very end of this year. We'll see. I don't know if that will do it justice or not, but I like these characters. I think that they're cool. Rocka, it sounds to me like Krakow. No, Wrocław. W-R-O-C-L-A-W is how we spell it. It could be some small other town, I don't know. This is a pretty big town, and I want to say that it's pretty far to the west. Pretty sure. Yeah, they used to live in...
Yeah, it's in Western Poland.
It's in Western Poland. Chrissy, my fiance, is here with me, and she just confirmed that.
It might be pronounced
Rokla? I could very easily be mispronouncing it. We talk, but I've only seen the name of his new town in print. I've never heard it pronounced, so I could very easily Yeah, you spelled it correctly. So that's where they just moved to. Looks very beautiful. They seem to like it, so that's good. So this Sharpie is good at filling in like lots of black areas, and I don't know if the camera is really capable of picking this up, but this is almost, when you compare it to the ink that I use for my inking pens, like this is a deep black that I started the outline with, and then I started filling it in with the Sharpie, and it almost looks bluish or purple instead of black. So it isn't as good quality ink, and I mean, why would it need to be? A Sharpie is really just used as a quick marker or something. It's not really meant to be used for nice fine illustrating, but it should serve our purposes today, allowing me to fill in a lot of black area without wasting a whole pen. Because I need to fill in a lot of black on this one. Okay, Geek Workshop says, which comic book character are you most like? Ha! Chrissy jokes Star-Lord.
Oh, I'm serious.
You're serious? How am I like Star-Lord? Oh,
You like the same music, and you have the same physique, and have the same hair color, and you like his jacket.
All right. Well, she might be biased, because I think that she's just silly enough to love me, but
And you like adventures.
she says that like our personality and our taste in stuff like music and clothes is pretty similar, and that, you know, I'm pretty sarcastic, so
Yeah.
I could see some of that. All right. I guess I'm most like Star-Lord.
But who would you say?
I would have leaned towards Peter Parker, Spider-Man, because I sort of have like so much like guilt and want to like always put others before myself, and I'm also sarcastic and quippy, and I just feel like the world can pile on top of me. So I think I'm like Peter Parker, but Chrissy says that I'm like Star-Lord. Let's see. Charles asks, who is my favorite comic book character? I definitely have said before that it's Spider-Man, and I think that a lot of that could be attributed to just like sort of what I grew up exposed to. I mean, that was just one of the very first ones that I was exposed to as a kid, so he really stuck with me. I will say that I think that Batman is a pretty, as far as superheroes go, I'm really focusing on superheroes because they're just a little more well-known and iconic, and they've been around longer than a lot of other characters in comics that are just here and then gone. Batman is a character I really, really like because I do feel that you can tell a lot of different stories with him. You can tell a flat-out mystery. You can tell a detective story. You know, you can tell a straightforward sort of action or adventure story. You can tell a spy story, a globe-trotting spy type tale. You can tell a horror story with like really creepy villains, or you can start to go even like sort of sci-fi or supernatural with Batman. And he's flexible enough that he works in different settings like that. So I really like that, how flexible that character is, that it can still work in those different sort of genres. It doesn't mean that he himself is necessarily the deepest, but you can tell a lot of interesting types of stories with him, which appeals to me. Because I personally like experimenting with story structure and story convention, kind of like a show like Rick and Morty does. I think you can do that with Batman too. Gershgorsh says Punisher, Superman, Batman for him. What's the most obscure villain you know? Let me think. Because the first thing that comes to mind is Skip Westcott, who molested Spider-Man when he was a teenager. But there are... that's... no one would know what that is. Let me think. That's an interesting question. What are some other obscure ones? There are some forgotten losers out there. Now, what pen am I looking for? Oh, here it is. I'll have to think about that one, Jesus. Then X-Men joined the pack. Oh, okay. Personal tastes. What's your favorite comic event? Probably the original Secret Wars. That was very exciting to see all those characters, all those heroes and villains all used in a story all at once, and I thought it was pretty good. I think that it holds up quite well. So yeah, probably the original Secret Wars. When I was a kid, I really liked Inferno, the X-Men storyline Inferno, but I reread it and it was okay, but it didn't speak to me the same way that it did when I was just a teenager, so who knows? Tastes change. Cloak, Dagger are shy tonight. Yeah, I think that he is pretty shy. Jesus says, do you know about Basilisk? That does sound familiar. It's not immediately coming to me, but it sounds familiar. Is that a... I think that there's a Marvel villain called Basilisk, and he may even have powers to, like, turn people into stone, or maybe he himself is just tough like stone, like an armadillo. But I could be thinking of somebody else. I fully admit that. It's, I'd have to think about it. Paste Pot Pete, he's an original Human Torch villain. Do you know him? Of course I know Paste Pot Pete. He's one of my favorite guys to joke about with my friend that I'm actually visiting in New York right now. We always joke about Paste Pot Pete. More commonly called the Trickster, but I will always think of him as Paste Pot Pete. That is just too good a name, and they should go back to that. One of the original members of the Frightful Four, one of the Fantastic Four supervillain groups. An evil collection of 4 supervillains. I think it was, if I'm remembering correctly, the original version was led by the Wizard. It had Sandman, Medusa, and Paste Pot Pete. I absolutely love Paste Pot Pete. Actually, now that I think of it, yeah, if you look at the background of most of my comic tropes video, when you're looking at the video, look at the upper left-hand corner, and you will see Spider-Man getting punched in the butt by Sandman, and the other character that's getting attacked is Submariner is getting attacked by Paste Pot Pete. Sigamigs asks, hello, by the way, what do you think of Brian Lee O'Malley's work? It touches me. I love Scott Pilgrim. I love Lost at Sea. Second Chances? Is that the name of what I'm thinking of? It's something like that. Second something. Yeah, beautiful work. Beautiful work. Touches me. Makes me feel emotional. I love Brian Lee O'Malley's work. Great writer. Very good artist. Unique. What a unique voice. Wish he put out more content, because I'm a big fan, actually. I love Brian Lee O'Malley. I mean, even if all he created was, you know, the 6 or 7 issues of Scott Pilgrim, that's tremendous. That was a great story. Comics are definitely slightly better than the movie. There's a lot more real estate to tell a big story there. Do you think they should make a Captain America comic series which takes place completely in World War II? I want to say that they have before. I don't know if it's ever lasted long. But I'm pretty sure they've tried to do things like with the Invaders and just setting stuff completely in World War II. Doesn't seem to always resonate with people. I think you can tell good stories in World War II. I think you can tell great stories. I don't think that people want to see Captain America so isolated from all the rest of the Marvel Universe on a long-term basis, you know? People seem to like Captain America mixing it up with modern-day Hydra, mixing it up, you know, leading the Avengers. So I think that when you set it in World War II, you have a little more personal flexibility as a writer because you're not as bound to like follow all sorts of continuity stuff. But I don't think that there's a lot of long-term interest there. It's not a bad idea though. I'm all for it if the right writer comes along with a good idea for just all World War II adventures. But if you want something like that, and, you know, nobody's making it, I think, well, first of all, make it yourself if you think it's a good idea. But all those Nick Fury and his Howling Commandos stories are pretty much the kind of stories that you could tell with Captain America as well. So, to a degree, it's also sort of been attempted, and you can read those. Do you like Mazzucchelli's artwork? Asks Charles. I love it. I think he's a master. I think he's one of the absolute best out there. Versatile too. Batman Year One and Daredevil Born Again get attributed a lot to Frank Miller. And that's fair, you know, he wrote those stories. But I don't think they'd be remembered quite as well if it wasn't for Mazzucchelli's amazing artwork in those things. It's interesting, like I look now, because that's stuff that I reread, and David Mazzucchelli's, or it might be Mazzucchelli, I could be mispronouncing his name, I'll just say that right now. I've never heard it said, I just realized I've only read it in print. Anyway, I'll keep saying Mazzucchelli just because that's what I've always thought. The stuff he did in Batman Year One, it reminds me of Alex Toth, who I consider just a master cartoonist. And then he completely changed up his style for Asterios Polyp. Quite impressive. Quite impressive. Jesus says, this what it says in the Spider-Man Encyclopedia, a short excerpt like the mythological monster of the same name, Basilisk, can freeze others in their tracks like the agile Spider-Man. Okay, I was right. Marvel villain has the ability to freeze people kind of like into stone, but it's temporary. Yep, I remember him. He is pretty obscure. Have you ever heard of the villain Codpiece? He's a pretty obscure villain. I don't think so, unless you're talking about a character that was created by Garth Ennis in his run on Hitman. Was that Codpiece? I don't know. Might be somebody else. What's your favorite part about comic books, asks Geek Workshop. Example, the large scale, the interwoven stories, so much history. Let me think for a sec. I think my favorite part about comic books is their versatility. That's what I will say, and I'll explain, because it's got several components. they're versatile in that you can tell any type of genre of story. They're versatile in that you can show a bunch of action like you can in film and television, but you can also enter characters' heads and their minds like you can with novels. So they're versatile in that aspect. You know, they can sort of go between those two other different mediums. They can do that themselves. They're also versatile. They're also versatile in how it can all be created by one singular creator. We were just talking about Brian Lee O'Malley. You know, he pretty much puts out a whole story all by himself. Or they can be this real amazing collaborative piece. We were just talking about Batman Year One, written by Frank Miller, illustrated by David Mazzucchelli. Well, isn't that like, I mean, it's a combination of their talents that made that so good. So that's what impresses me and fascinates me about comic books, is how versatile they can be. You can just do almost anything with them, I think. And I love it. I hope that answers the question. Hey, did anybody out there get that McDonald's Szechuan sauce that was available today only? I haven't got any, but after this I may walk over to a 24-hour McDonald's that's kind of close to the hotel and see if they've got any left. I don't expect them to at this hour, but I'm kind of curious about that, whether there's still any Szechuan sauce. Did anyone even try? Sigmig says, I went for lunch, they only had 20 packets per store. Well, that's ridiculous. Geek Workshop says, I didn't get any, although I heard it was good. Geez, 20 packets per store is stupid. Why would they even bother? Like, don't even bother at that point. Like, there's a difference between being, like, limited and just being, like, you know, not really available. I mean, it was already, like, only available for one day at select McDonald's starting at 2 p.m. If you're only going to give a store something like 20 packets, don't even bother. That's just an insult. Not like I care that much, because, I mean, it's just a dipping sauce at McDonald's. It's hardly important, but, you know, I'm curious. I want to try it. They've built up that curiosity, or they've helped foster it, so, you know, give people what they actually want. Don't I don't know. Sorry, that annoys me. That annoys me. Don't let our corporate overlords know that I'm speaking so ill of them. The all-new Comic Tropes with no more Chris, brought to you by McDonald's and its helpful sponsors, the Northrop, what is it? Northrop Grumman? I forget. Like, Marvel got in a bit of hot water this weekend, if you didn't hear, because they were going to announce a partnership with a weapons manufacturer. Which, you know, fine, I understand that these companies exist for a reason. It's just a strange fit for comic books. Sigmig says, I asked the cashier and she said some people were waiting since 3 a.m. and didn't give them out till 2 p.m. Come on. What is going on there? that makes me wonder if, like, was that store where, like, employees hoarding them or something weird like that to sell on eBay? Because that does not sound normal. That sounds weird to me. I don't know. I don't know. Jesus says, might all stay awake all the time, then when they open, you will be first. Well, there you go. There you go. I think he's got the right idea. Sorry, I know I keep covering the artwork with my hand. I haven't found an ideal way to deal with that issue yet. Do you like video games? If so, what? Yeah, I like video games. Everybody likes video games, right? No? Chrissy says not everybody likes video games. I like all kinds of games to a degree. I'm not very good at fighting games. You know, Street Fighter and things like that. I'm just not very good at that. So those aren't necessarily my favorite, although I can have fun with friends if we're not being too competitive. I do tend to like first-person shooters. The bane of Chrissy's existence. She does not like the sounds. They annoy her, and I get it.
Just the shooting.
So I put on my headphones when I can, or try to play when I've got the house to myself. I've been playing a good amount of Destiny 2 lately with my friends. I like it. But, you know, in terms of like some of my all-time favorite games, could be something like The Last of Us, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Tetris. Hopefully a little bit of a variety. What about yourself? What stands out as some of the best? Whoops, hold on, I missed a few comments. I'll try, let's see. It reminds me of communism in Poland when people waited in long lines for some food products and on the shelves was only vinegar. Ooh, that sounds, wow. I have to admit, you know, I don't know what that's like. Even during like something like hurricane preparation, when people supposedly, you know, raid the grocery stores, you can usually still get the main staples like milk and bread and eggs. Some, whoops, hold on. Somehow I have knocked over my setup.
I don't know if it's still streaming.
There we go. There, no, that's all right. All right, sorry about that, folks. Try to, okay. Yeah, Tetris says CSNG. Absolutely Tetris. And Dr. Mario. Chrissy and I have been playing a good amount of Dr. Mario lately because it's an addictive game on those NES classics. That's been fun to go back to. I say go back to, but I mean like that sort of generation. I actually didn't have a Nintendo or a Super Nintendo, so I got the classics, and I really like playing the old games. The original Super Mario is one of the greats. It really is. It really is. Not just in terms of gameplay, but like the music and stuff. It's so fun. Everybody probably likes that one, I think. What do you think, Chrissy?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Oh.
What would
The
you
original Super Mario, one of the all-time greats of the games.
What about it?
Just,
good.
would you agree?
It is.
Even the music.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I missed something. Let me scroll back for a second. Geek Workshop says Battlefront 2 versus Destiny 2. Is that a question? If so, let me think about it for a second. Gershkorsh says, my game is Champions Online. Tried DC Universe Online 2. And earlier, all of D&D. Stalker series was good too. I don't know the Stalker series. Is The Witcher like still incredibly popular over there in Poland? Because that's like, I think over here it's got to be the most popular thing from Poland, like that I know of. That Witcher series, like I think that's pretty popular, and I wonder if that's like also incredibly popular over there. Witcher beats all, yeah. I sort of suspected that it might. This is a real challenge for me, trying to think out where I want to have negative space and where I want to fill in black, where I want to fill in detail. This is a good challenge, though. Everyone played or tried it. Do they have, like... I know that The Witcher is, like, you know, mythology that's been around a really long time, from, like, books and stuff. Do they have comic books based on The Witcher over there? I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know. I haven't seen them. What's your favorite superhero costume? Probably Batman. Probably. I think that it looks good in silhouette. It looks good close up. It's easy to show motion and action because of the cape. That isn't necessarily a realistic element if you were to fight crime running around, but I think that it helps an artist show the motion. So I think that stands out as, and it's very iconic. You know, it's not overly complicated. But there are others that I love. I mean, I love Spider-Man. I think Ghost Rider and Silver Surfer are great designs. I have to think about... Oh, Hellboy. Hellboy's pretty awesome. Oh, okay. There was a comic book based on The Witcher, but 8 to 10 parts tops. So that's not many. But, interesting. Yeah, I don't think that everybody here in America actually knows that The Witcher is kind of a popular story from Poland. I don't think that everybody knows that here. I think that a lot of people think it's more like something new. And it's really not that new. It's new to us. It's new to us. Oh, a 13-episode TV series too, huh? Hey, comic book guy just joined, and he says, "Ooh, Cloak and Dagger," and I think he said it just like that. I just felt really strongly that that's how he said it. Oh, way, Cloak and Dagger! That's right, comic book guy. The prompt today was shy. I believe that Tyrone, Cloak, is pretty shy. Soft-spoken. At least that's what popped into my head. And I included Dagger because it started to form an idea in my head. At first, actually, I did consider making this all black, but then I was like, no. There's so few details to Cloak already. I'm going to sort of put at least an outline of Tandy into my drawing. See where that goes. He says he did say it just like that. Well, see? I know my viewers. Oh, wait. Well, if that don't beat all, I admire you, Cloak and Dagger. There's gonna be a few changes around here. That's how Cloak and Dagger's evil southern enemy talks to them. It's called Southern Kingpin. Marvel didn't spend much time thinking about the enemy name. It's called Southern Kingpin, and he goes, there's gonna be a few changes around here, Cloak and Dagger. No superheroine. We police have things well in hand. That's right. Southern Kingpin is a police sheriff. Didn't see that twist coming, did you? All right, Marvel, pay me. Let's see. Comic book guy says, dudes, none of my local comic book stores have chrome cover Robin #1. Oh, you poor thing. Well, we all have to make sacrifices in this world, comic book guy, so looks like you're gonna have to do without chrome cover Robin #1. That sounds really tough. That sounds really, really tough. I'm gonna do that, all this, all that. Alright, time to throw down the Sharpie again. Where is it? They glued Witcher the movie from episodes. We forgive them, we fans. Oh, yeah, that doesn't sound like the right way to approach a movie. Need a bigger budget. Needs to be a little more special than just some stitched together TV episodes. Marvel just tried to do that with us by releasing the first 2 episodes of their Inhumans TV show in the movie theaters for like a weekend or 2. No one really went to see it because they were like, this will be on TV for free in a couple weeks. Like, no. Doesn't even look good. Alright, I'm going to throw in a lot of black with this Sharpie. Again, it's not very good color, but bear with me for a minute. This will be a little boring just watching me fill in black. But it has to be done in order to get this drawing the way I want it. And this is Inktober, so let's throw down a lot of ink. I feel like I throw down more and more every video. The last video will be me just slowly filling in blocks of black over the whole entire page. He truly Inktobered. Southern Kingpin. Even starving children in Africa have chrome cover Robin. Yep. That's because chrome cover Robin you can twist it up like a straw, and you can drink dirty water through it, and it'll come out clean. That's what chrome cover Robin does. It's the chrome in it. Makes water clean. We wait for American version. Heard it's some form of cooperation. Here we don't get good special effects for screen Witcher. Well, I understand. I mean, the investment has to come from somewhere, and they're only going to invest if they know that there's a really big audience for it, so sometimes you have to be patient. But now that the video game has been released and a lot of people know about The Witcher from that, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Hollywood tries a big budget version of it. They keep wanting to crack the idea of adapting a video game into a successful movie series, and aside from the Resident Evil movies, they haven't really done it. I'm not talking necessarily about the quality, I'm just saying that, like, at least those make money. Comic Book Guy says, I think I like 90s comics. I mean, no reason that you shouldn't. There is a lot of good stuff in there. It's just that there was also a lot of crap. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't good stuff. There were tons of really talented people working throughout the 90s. So there's a lot of fantastic comics to discover in the 90s. Which reminds me, I've misplaced it, but I found an issue in a dollar bin at a store recently. It was a 90s comic by DC. They had this event where aliens came to Earth, and I don't know, like they bit people or something like that, and like 9 out of 10 died, but 1 out of 10 got a superpower. And one of them, one of these new creations, I think the only one, by the way, that like succeeded was Hitman. I'm pretty sure Hitman was birthed out of that series. There was a guy, though, who could like turn anything into a gun, and he may have even been named Gunfire. As in, he'd pick up, you know, this pen, and he'd like go like, you know, bang, and it would like shoot a bullet out of it. That was his power, was to turn anything into a gun. Which is just stupid and kind of tasteless and tacky. I can't wait to review that someday. And on the cover, it's like, it was so cocky that it had some sort of proclamation like, soon to be the most popular new character in DC Comics. It was something really crazy and over the top like that. A really absurd claim. Maybe some of you out there know what I'm talking about, and if you don't, good, because it'll be a pleasant surprise when I someday get around to reviewing that. Comic Book Guy is saying a bunch of stuff. He's talking over all of you guys. This is so rude, but you know what? We'll forgive him because it's Saturday night. We're just going to try to be chill. He says, Robin kicks butt, kind of like how comic Tropes kicks butt. Hey, that might be an insult to Robin. I liked the Tim Drake Robin. Or, I mean, I guess I still do. I assume he's still around. I'm just not really reading a lot of DC stuff these days. But I had all those limited series of Robin, and then when he got his own regular title, I was reading that for a long time. I like that version of Robin quite a bit. I never really took to the Jason whatever, I forget his last name right now, but the second Robin. I never really took to him when I was reading his comic stories, although I look back and I like the idea, you know, he's sort of really rough around the edges, and he would come to be trained to be great. So it was a good idea, just they never quite got him to that likable point, you know, the point where we were rooting for him to succeed and make it. It wasn't a bad idea for a take on Robin. but I don't feel that they ever quite executed it right. Jason Todd, thank you, Gershagorsh. Probably still not doing your name right, and I'm sorry about that, buddy. Jason Todd. James Barry Jr. has joined us, and he says, I've been reading Hawkman Volume 2, and it has gotten very good. I'm on issue 7 and having a hard time putting them down. What's your take on those comics? Here's my hot take on the Hawkman Volume 2 series. I haven't read it. So I'm sorry, I don't have an informed opinion to give you on that one. Tell me who's writing it. I'm curious. Who wrote this version of Hawkman, and I'll look into it. I'll educate myself and get caught up. Hawkman is probably a bit of a blind spot for me, folks. I know his origin, I know his name, I know that kind of stuff, like his various origins, I should say. Have I read many of his comic books? No. No, I definitely haven't, so it's a bit of a blind spot for me. Jesus says, you never know, there probably is a universe where someone can turn anything into a gun and is the most recognizable superhero. Yeah, probably somewhere there is, huh? Gunman. That might as well have been his name. But I think it was Gunfire. Dumb idea. Dumb. I don't want a superhero whose power is that he can make more guns. That's not impressive to me at all. Even somebody like the Punisher or Deathstroke that uses guns, I'm more impressed by them because, of course, they're just prepared for any situation, and they think tactically, and they're good with almost any weapon. It's not the fact that they use a gun that's cool to me in any way. In fact, that kind of detracts from them on some level, personally. I'd rather have them mix it up with their fists or a bladed weapon, something like that takes a little more effort and skill. The sound for ers is a tough one for all nationalities. I will tell you what, man. I will talk to my friend Mark, who lives in Poland, and ask him for some tips in how to pronounce names better. It's the least I can do. I want to be able to pronounce these Polish sounds. Geek Workshop says, what do you think of the film Logan? I think it was good, real good. I think it was better than the comic books that it was based on. I think, yeah, now that I think of it, I don't know if anybody out there has been as lucky as Mark Millar, because I literally think the film adaptations of his comics have always improved the story. Wanted, Kick-Ass, the original Kingsman, Logan, all of these are based, at least in part, on Mark Millar stuff. And I think that the movies have all been better than the comic, from what I've just talked about. Lucky guy. I'm going to throw in some white out here so that I can redo Dagger's torso. Still going to pull this in some, but it was... yeah, there's a few things I want to touch up there. James Berry Jr. says Tony Isabella and Richard Howell. I guess those are the guys that do the Hawkman comic you're talking about. I will I'll look into it. I don't have an informed opinion right now, so I'm not just going to say anything. I'll wait until I take a look. But thanks for the recommendation in the meantime, okay? I think the guy that made the guns was Blood Gun. I hope you're joking, but there's a good chance that that really could have been his name because it was the 90s. Blood Gun. No need to fear, folks. Blood Gun is here. Blood Gun. You better be joking. Blood Gun sounds close to Rob Liefeld name pick sheet. Yeah. And trust me, these characters were definitely of that era. So they were definitely just sort of like wolf, blood. Those had to be in just about every dead. Some combination of those had to be in every new character's name in the 90s. It was a dark time for comics. It was good. There was also a lot of bad. Charles asks, do you watch Nostalgia Critic? Definitely not regularly. I'm aware that he exists. Could not tell you the last video of his that I have seen. It's been a long time. Let me think. I think I like the general premise of Nostalgia Critic. I don't remember finding him all that funny. I remember it was more like he yelled a lot, but I could be misremembering. I'm not trying to come down on the guy. I'm sure that he's more popular on YouTube than I'll ever likely be. So he's obviously speaking to a lot of people, right? With whatever he does. But that was my recollection. It's hard to remember for sure. Yeah, it's definitely been a long time since I can't think of anything that he's reviewed. Well, you know what? Maybe Garbage Pail Kids? But I could be confusing that with a podcast or something. I mean, I'm sure he must have reviewed that one, but I'm not sure if I'm remembering his take on it or if I'm remembering a podcast's take on it. Blood Vein. I found Blood Gun. Alright, guys. Let it go. Mundo dos Desano says, hello, I'm from Brazil. Cloak and Dagger. You got it. Welcome. This is amazing. Wow. Folks from all over. You guys are in some really different time zones, too. Well, Brazil isn't necessarily that different from where I am right now, but certainly from somebody like Gershigorsh in Poland. It's pretty far away. I love it. Welcome. That blows my mind to think that people in other countries have watched anything that I've created. It's very flattering, actually, to think that there are people out there enjoying it. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining. Mundo says that he's read some Cloak and Dagger comics. What happened to them? Good question. The last time I remember seeing them actually used in a story, at least used well, was in some issues of Runaways by Brian K. Vaughan. I remember that because they were runaways, and Cloak and Dagger were originally sort of runaways, so they crossed paths, and Cloak and Dagger sort of gave them some advice as slightly older teenage superheroes who'd been doing this a little bit longer than the runaways. It made sense within the story. I think they were like helping find them or something. They were concerned about these missing kids. Anyway, that was the last time I remember seeing them used in any sort of prominent story, and that was well over 10 years ago, now that I'm thinking of it. Wow, I'm not sure when the last time they were used in a big way was. Somebody else out there is probably thinking of something. And I mean, I'm sure that they popped up in maybe Secret Wars or something like that, you know, like a big Marvel event, you know, where everybody beats up on each other. I'm sure they were in Civil War. Yeah, they were. They were in the original Civil War because Cloak transported a bunch of them from the negative zone back to New York. But that's not really an important role. Anyway, they're going to be on a TV show over here in the United States somewhere around November. They've got their own TV show coming. They were on a game for SNES in a cameo, a game starred by Carnage. Ah, yes. There was an SNES game. I didn't play it because I did not have an SNES, but it was based on the Spider-Man Maximum Carnage storyline, which had Spider-Man teaming up with a bunch of other street-level superheroes, Cloak and Dagger, Punisher, maybe Daredevil, and Carnage also had like a bunch of bad guys.
Open your cable a bunch to your phone.
Oh, I'm jiggling the... Okay. Chrissy just pointed out that I've been jiggling the video a bunch. I'm sorry, folks. Did not realize that. Chrissy thinks I should sing a song, but I disagree.
Oh.
Why would I want to be mean to my audience? They're all lovely people. They don't need to have their ears broken. And if I sang it well, YouTube would tell me that I can't monetize it. They'd be like, you're stealing a song. So that's a no-win scenario. Extreme X-Men is cool. I just got some books as a comic book guy. Let's see. Mundo says, I think we use the same Nankin pens. Is this Nankin? I don't see that word on this. This is a calligraphy pen from Japan. Has this word Tombow on it. It's okay. I'm just sort of using what I've got, and they're all sort of dying on me, so I keep varying it up like what I'm grabbing. I'm gonna erase a few of my original sketch lines because I really want the negative space to show through as much as possible. And I think I'll just keep Dagger. I think I'll just keep her as sort of this outline. I think I'm in fact going to revise this a bit and bring in her. I'm gonna give her shorter hair than this. See what this looks like. Could be garbage. Could be great. You'll be swell, you'll be great. Gonna have the whole world on your plate. What's that from? Beats me, folks. Beats by me. Alright, I missed a few things. I am referring to the beige ones. Oh, these? These are called Pigma Microns here, but maybe they're called something else down in Brazil. Most of this stuff I've got is by Sakura, a Japanese company. And then I've got a bunch of stuff by Pentel as well. Skunk Ape Crew for life! That's right, comic book guy. Chrissy says drawing looks great, but she's biased. By the way, skunk apes are real, says Gersagorsh. Well, let's hope not. That would be terrifying. Oh, those skunk apes are coming for us. What a wonderful bunch of folks showed up tonight. I like talking with you all. You ask interesting questions and share opinions with each other on good stuff. Thank you. Let's see. Characters who played an important role in my childhood. Starfire, or Flama. Don't know her real name. Yeah, Starfire we call her here. In Portuguese, it was Estrela de Fogo. Iceman in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Ah, absolutely. Okay, so when you say Starfire or Flama, okay. Over here she was called Firestar. Firestar. Starfire is the name of a character in DC Comics. So for a moment I thought you were talking about her, but you're talking about Firestar and Iceman from the 1980s, I think, cartoon Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I loved that one growing up. That was, I also tremendously loved that. That was a Saturday morning cartoon here. Oh, so good. I can imagine that sort of disco opening song right now in my head. Comic book guy says, don't mess with the Skunk Ape crew because we'll hug you? What, you're gonna, whoa, I guess so. That's probably true. I'm probably more likely to give out a hug. We're all probably more likely to give out a hug. If we're ever going to advance as a society, it's going to be through hugs and music, probably. Because everybody likes music. Or maybe it'll just be like memes of a cat trying to jump up on a sofa and then falling down on a pillow. Everybody likes stuff like that. Someday a world leader is just going to put together the dankest memes and unite everybody by constantly posting great memes. Yo, I like that president. He posts the best memes. Na na na. There was also another character I loved, says Mundo dos Desanos. He says, a mutant who transformed sound into light. That was Dazzler. Dazzler, great character. She started here as an idea for a disco musical. Stan Lee was developing a disco musical. I don't know whether it was a play or a movie, but she was being developed for that. So Marvel put out that comic book to sort of, lock in the idea and the rights, and the project in Hollywood never went forward. But that was the creation of Alison Blair, the Dazzler. Maybe someday I'll cover her weird history in an episode. She used to wear a disco outfit and run around on roller skates. She came out in the 70s, and that's what was popular. Marvel was all about capitalizing on trends. Let's see. Let me scroll up. I missed a few things, I think. Firestar as Angelica looked like Mary Jane. That's true. When I saw later Firestar in New Warriors, it was like, wow, this character is great. Not only goofy or simple, like in Amazing Friends. You're right, yeah. She was created for the cartoon, Firestar was, but instantly they created her as a comic book character as well, and she's always been a pretty deep and heroic character. I think that she's definitely a great character. I don't know where she's appearing now. She was in Avengers for a while. Let's see. Jessica Drew. What does this name remind you, Skunk Ape? Jessica Drew? I don't know. I just always think Spider-Woman. Memes are French grandmas. Okay, thank you, comic book guy. No, he's making puns. He's making puns. That's fair. Geek Workshop says, do you think comic books should take place in real time? Characters age each year. I think that there's room for both. I think that sometimes you want to have a story, just sort of be serialized with it, and the character, you don't want to necessarily have them age too quickly. But I do like growth, and I think you get new story opportunities when characters age and deal with things like graduation, promotions, children, death, etc. These things that happen with real life. So I would be interested in seeing more comic book superhero stories that dealt with actual aging. I think that would be nice. Let's see. She was named Crystal here in Brazil. Oh, interesting. Let's see. Just like that rock comic Night Cat. Oh, yeah, there was a comic book about, like, rock and roll called Night Cat or something like that. Yeah. Mundo says, exactly, Jessica Drew equals Spider-Woman. Yep, I know what you're talking about. Geek Workshop says, the only thing I remember of Spider-Man and his amazing friends is the theme song and one episode where Iceman dresses up as Captain America for a costume party. I always remember the episode where Firestar and Iceman take Spider-Man to meet Professor X and the X-Men, and for some reason, Wolverine had an Australian accent. He greets Spider-Man by popping his claws. Here, let's see. These are my... Do I have a... What's the next one that's closest to this? There's my claws. I'm Wolverine. And he skewers like a pineapple or something, and he goes, want a piece of fruit? And that was just not how I ever imagined Wolverine talking. Want a piece of fruit? Later, he cut off Juggernaut's helmet, and Spider-Man pulled it off, and Professor X mind blasted him. Good episode. Comic book guy says, no, it's true. My meme lives with us. Oh, alright. Well, it's still sort of a pun, isn't it? But yes, I know what you're talking about.
How's it a pun?
Well,
I don't know.
because meme is like in the term I'm using it for is short for something, but I forget what. Mundo says Dazzler was named Crystal here. Yeah. CBG is Nito Mosquito. Another cartoon that amazed me a lot. It's from Mundo. Let's see. Comic Book Guy says, another X-Men trope. X-Men, they put O's in word. Like it's the size O the building. Oh, yeah, they're like, instead of, they're just saying O. Size of the building. Alright, I think I'm pretty much done with what I'm setting out to do tonight with this drawing. Let's see, how long have I been streaming? Oh, I've been streaming for over an hour. Let's see, there's another question here. Mundo says, do you remember the episode with Firestar and another mutant, a Japanese guy, whose powers were similar, were forced to use their power to create a giant made of fire? Yeah, I believe that was Sunfire, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure that was an episode with Sunfire. At least that's what he's called here. Yeah, Japanese mutant superhero. Sunfire. So anyway, yeah, I remember that one. Anyway, that's a great cartoon. It really was. It was a lot of fun. And it was just funny because Peter Parker, Iceman, and Firestar all lived in an apartment that I think they might have rented from Aunt May. And they would, like, push a button and their bureaus would flip around and they'd have all these computers that they never really used. And I just loved thinking, how did they ever get that stuff in there? I mean, somebody else owns that place. They were renting it, and they installed all this, like, all these computers and all these turning gizmos and gadgets, and nobody ever noticed. Iceman had to freeze it, and Spider-Man broke it with a kick. I think they used that image in the opening credits theme song. Sunfire, part of Big Hero 6. Yeah, Sunfire was part of the comic book Big Hero 6, I think, but not the animated movie, right? They went a different direction for that. Anyway, yeah. All right, folks, I'm gonna end the live stream. I've had fun talking with you. I'm okay with this drawing. It's kind of unique. It's not perfect, but what is? I'll try to keep streaming around this time, and as always, I really appreciate everybody joining and contributing to the conversation. It was a blast. It was good talking to everybody. So take care, all. You're the best. Bye.